What's going on? What's happening? So, just an update real quick. This is, I started entrepreneurship May 28th. It is June 16th. So I guess that puts me into the beginning of week four, um, or the beginning of week three. Let's look at the calendar right now, actually. Um, Here we go. We're looking at the calendar and I have 28th. We have 1 week, 2 weeks. We're coming up on the third week will be this Wednesday. So, yeah, man, entrepreneurship. Today, I hosted my first webinar for just my members. I started off having a $19 membership community. Um, Going into my third week, I thought, hey, if everybody's paying $19 a month, let's make sure we have a meetup and we talk and we discuss really, what type of like challenges they may have or what they're looking for. Um, and so I wanted to really just dive in and you know create an opportunity for people to ask me questions, to be able to engage them around scholarships. So my business, if you haven't caught on now, is scholarshiplaunch.com. Scholarshiplaunch.com is an online scholarship academy dedicated to helping students across the nation be able to graduate debt free or as close to that goal as possible. We do so by focusing and prioritizing scholarships as our main focus, but really it's an opportunity for students to share strategies across the nation on how they're applying and conquering the challenge that is scholarships each and every single day. And in addition, and just the challenges that really higher education and that rising and increasing tuition that's consistently coming about. So I really see this as a great opportunity to really start conversations around academics, college, and financial literacy. I'm a big interest on higher education and financial literacy. I got my master's thesis from the University of Pennsylvania. I wrote that on higher education finance, looking at the California higher education system within a three-tier system. You look at UCs, University of California research institutions, Cal States, more professional training institutions, and then you have your community colleges, which focuses on trade schools and transferring to those four-year institutions previously mentioned. My name is Professor Miles. I used to teach higher education finance at Drexel University. In addition to that, I taught African American Studies at Cal State Fullerton. I think when it comes to creating your own business, this entire YouTube for the Professor Miles side is all about really just looking at my entrepreneurial journey behind the scenes. If you want to see what my entrepreneurship looks like front hand, go to TikTok. You can see at TikTok, at Professor Miles on TikTok, that I've grown my following by over 3,500 followers in the last 30 days. I'm prioritizing my marketing and advertising strategy primarily on TikTok. The scholarship mentorship group that I was in, by Ellie Talks Money, she has a program called Mommy the Millionaire. I'm in the alumni group now, so still engaging and talking and getting coaching with them. So I feel like that's just really fun, and it helps me to really have accountability and be able to discuss business. I love discussing business and being serious about how to grow and develop my business. And I often bring that into my social spaces when I'm getting coffee with folks and things like that. That's just not really what they care about. I'm, a big O workaholic. I'm a big O entrepreneurial hustle guy. But most of the people that I run into aren't. Most people want to work their 9 to 5 barely, and then most people really what they're focusing on is how they can not work. I know a lot of times I'm talking to a young lady having a good time, and I just want to talk business, man. I'm like, lady, I'm trying to network with you. And then, other times, I'm just thinking about how to manage my money and how to make sure my money is growing. Just, big insecurity. We can go back into childhood trauma and just not feeling like I could really ask for all the things I wanted to be able to purchase as a kid. So now as an adult, I'm just focused on creating a level of financial security that makes me feel incredibly confident. Ultimately, I want to be able to, retire my wife before for our 10th anniversary. Ultimately, I really want to have kids and send them to public school, but be able to pay for the private tutor, be able to pay for the private education program, be able to pay for that sports program or that space camp that might be $4 or $5 for the summer. I don't care about necessarily sending them to private school, but I do care about making sure that they can get that outside of school cultivated educational experiences that sometimes just cost. And I don't want that to be a disadvantage for them. Now, whether they decide to go on and be basket weavers with their life, or whether they decide to be engineers, whether they decide to be lawyers, whether they decide to be entrepreneurs, whether they decide to be photographers, or some type of combination of it. Because I'm a corporate guy, or was. I left corporate America, getting caught in a round of workforce reduction, right? Just reducing headcount, and now I'm working on my own business. I'm able to do that full time, and I'm just looking at different ways to be able to grow and advance my skills. So, what I've been able to do is really pivot the business. So, I was focusing on MRR, and I think in my last video, you can see how I talked about reaching $133 MRR. I think I generated maybe about $200 total in earnings. I'm at 271 total in earnings for this year. I'm at $197 over the last 28 days, $40 over the last 7 days. My current account balance is about $201 for what my business has generated since May 28th. So it's going to be 3 weeks and 2 days. So essentially, in 2.5 weeks, I've generated about $200. In addition to that, that's just online digital products. So I've also got booked to speak with LEAD. So shout out to LEAD. It's an amazing organization of ladies who are seeking equity and really just increasing accessibility and providing diverse educational opportunities and resources to students who are from the greater Los Angeles area, primarily focusing on Black Beverly Hills and students who are in those communities. So I gave a whole keynote address on leadership. I'm going to post that here on this channel. I'm also going to post that on my Scholarship Launch YouTube channel that I'm going to start building, because there's certain content that is great, but it's for Scholarship Launch to be great. And on this channel, I want to keep it focused on my entrepreneurial journey from behind the scenes. So this is my kind of check-in and tap-in coming into week 3. I don't how many days is this? I know I started off counting days, and then now it's kind of going into weeks, and this is just me being a full-time entrepreneur, adjusting and pivoting, and just living life. So here we have May 27th. I think is actually the day I started. You could argue I started the day I let go. May 23rd. So let's do that. I was let go May 23rd, and that Tuesday, it was the 27th. I said, F it, I'm not going to just, lay in bed all day. I was out of bed by 10 and just had to get to it. Went to the gym by 12, and I did, one thing a day. And then now I'm doing like 10, 12, 13, 15 things in a day for scholarshiplaunch.com. So here we go. Let's count the days. We have... Okay, well, that's 7 days if we just logically do that, and that's 14 days if we logically do that, and then tomorrow would be 21 days. So here we go, day 20 of being a full-time entrepreneur, and I've made $400 so far. So that's, what is that? Let's calculate that. Calculator. So if we're looking at, I've made $401 divided by 20 days of entrepreneurship. ARG. Come on, computer. Oh, okay. I need a 20. Let me get my calculations right. That's $20.05 a day that I've made being a full-time entrepreneur. And what's great is that since I made all my products free, a lot of this money is coming in from just tips. So if you're an entrepreneur and you're looking at ways of being able to make money, potentially in 20 days, you can average $20 a day and make $401 in 20 days. It's just online. That's $10 a day. So without even having speaking engagement. Public speaking is one of my best skills. So I'm putting that out there, and I'm, interacting and engaging with different folks to make sure that I keep that relevant.